Hello, my name is Daniel Yuck. Thank you for joining today. I appreciate you, your time, and your support. In today's video, I want to share with you some main reasons why ink may not be depositing into skin, whether it's fake or human skin. Should you have any questions at any point throughout this video, I encourage you to drop a comment down below. I'll do my absolute best to assist you in the best possible direction. Please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and ring that bell for me, as I will be bringing more videos like this for you all. I do also have social medias under the same name as my YouTube. I have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X, all under Daniel Yuck. I would appreciate the support over there as well. With that being said, let's get right on into this. Let's start here. Whenever we hear another artist say the term, especially when they're beginners or not very experienced, and they use the term, I can't get the ink to stay, the ink doesn't want to stay in the skin, your skin doesn't like to take the ink, something along these lines. Typically, I guess to me, this is kind of opinion based, but what that would mean to me is that artist specific isn't quite acquainted with the basic fundamentals that it takes to apply clean, solid, consistent tattoos. There is a, I guess, opinion-based realm when it comes to style. However, when it comes to technical application and actually applying tattoos, that's non-negotiable and it's non-subjective. There are technical ways that we do go about applying a tattoo, and there are technical ways that we avoid going about applying a tattoo. I will be demonstrating some good and bad technical applications here in a moment, so stay with me. Be sure to stick around until the end. That right there is one of the main reasons why an artist may say that, and again, it may vary from person to person, and there also may be an instance where someone's skin is actually difficult to work with. But for me, it's probably a greater chance that it's going to be on the technical application than it would be on any sort of skin type. Keep in mind, there are abnormalities with skin. Sometimes people do have conditions such as, burn marks, scars. You get the idea along the way. So that can interfere with applying a clean tattoo. But I'm kind of talking more on the surface level where we don't experience those sort of issues with the skin and we do have a clean slate to work with. So oftentimes as an artist, when we're experiencing times where the ink may not be accepting into certain skins, more than likely it's going to be on our technical application. Keep in mind, not always, but maybe 8 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10 even, it's going to be something that we as the artist can handle with a little bit more experience and a little bit more practice along the way. We do have to align multiple fundamentals and multiple variables when we are applying each and every tattoo, and that is kind of often overlooked, especially for beginners. Even up until 3 years into tattooing, that's still often overlooked. Hand speed, voltage, posture, positioning, all of these little variables and many more in between. What types of ink are we using, our machine, the stroke, you get the idea. So all of these do play a variable and take time to learn. So for me personally, I would say if the ink isn't depositing in the manner that you are looking for, 9 times out of 10, it's gonna be on our technical application and something that we as the artist can fix. Allow me to go over some top reasons why the ink may not be depositing and or staying into the skin in the manner that we are looking for. So some main reasons are gonna be because our hand speed is too fast. We're not giving the needle enough time to deposit the ink in a clean, consistent manner. Another is our voltage is too low, which means even though we're moving, the needle is still not going to make enough rounds to deposit the ink in a clean and consistent manner that we are looking for. The line weight is also going to play a variable, but that's not something that would cause inconsistencies up front. I would say if the ink's not staying in, it's going to be more so on these fundamentals that I'm listing here, again, such as the hand speed, the voltage that we are using, understanding needle depth. This one right here is probably going to be 80% of us. For me personally, it took me a long time to figure out proper needle depth. It was something that I focused on maybe tremendous. I kind of obsessed about it for a good half a year to about a year or so, just to understand the concept. And then sure enough, over time, I was able to grasp the concept of where the ink should be living within the skin. Some may take a shorter amount of time, other artists may take longer, and that's okay. As long as we get to where we're going and we kind of do it in a manner that we are happy with, and as long as we're being safe along the way as well, I feel like this is really important. Now, when it comes to another main variable that we may not be depositing ink is not only needle depth, but it could be because we're using the wrong setup. So let's say if we have a machine with a very light stroke, such as a 3 mm stroke, then this is more so for like smooth shading, anything below that. maybe even a 3.5 can potentially give us issues with depositing clean lines because that's more of a softer hit. So even the machine that we use is definitely going to play a role in the results that we achieve when we tattoo. So again, a 3.5 is going to hit a little bit softer, as a 4 is going to hit a little bit harder. So if we're looking to pack black or maybe even do lines dominantly, I'm going to go with the 4.2, something that hits a little bit harder, so that way I can be in and out with smooth, clean, one pass lines while achieving solid saturated consistency. Let's say if I want to do something that's more like stipple shading or shading dominant, I'm probably going to go with a 3.5 or below to compensate for the style of tattoo and for what I'm not going to be doing. So again, if I'm going to be packing or lining, I'm going to need a 4. If I'm going to be shading, anything from 3.5 and below is going to do just fine for me. Now, I know that may be a lot of information, especially if we're just starting out. So feel free to pause, take notes, and or rewind and hear this back as many times as you need. Feel free to come back to the video later on, so that way this information really sears in. This is really important. These are often overlooked when we are just starting out. So let's say we're eager to begin tattooing human skin. Let's say we give practicing maybe even 3 months at that if we don't have any patience. Let's say as soon as we go into human skin, we're far more likely to encounter these issues, especially with human skin, such as ink not sitting, ink not staying, and then the tattoo just not healing consistent at all. This can be very discouraging and make us quit altogether. So we really, I feel, should be patient with the tattooing process, especially with the early developmental stages, so that way we really learn the basics and the fundamentals, so that way we can actually apply clean, solid, consistent tattoos each and every time we tattoo. So from my experience, those are some main reasons why our ink may not be depositing into the skin the way that we want. With that being said, I want to switch on over to a close-up angle so that way I can demonstrate some of these motions here, so that we can get a better idea as to what we can expect when we are using improper and proper technical application. For this demonstration, I'm going to be using this OG Produce tattoo machine. I'll leave my Amazon affiliate and other affiliate links for you in the description below to the gear that I'm featuring here in this video, in case you want to check it out on your end. And this is going to be a, I believe, Josie tattoo needle. I could be wrong, but again, I'll put those links down below. And I'm going to be using a little slab here of real skin, fake skin, along with dynamic black tattooing ink. Now, I'm going to demonstrate some improper technical applications, and then we can move on over to proper technical applications. So let's say, for example, I'm taking my machine down to the lowest voltage that it can go, which is 4 on this machine. Let's say if I'm going to move too fast, and this is a 4-stroke machine, so this machine is going to be great for lining, but I do feel like my points are going to get across either way here. So moving too fast can be one of the main reasons why we may be experiencing that inconsistency where the ink or the skin isn't accepting the ink. So what that would look like is, once we touch down with the needle, we begin to just kind of go like that. So if I go ahead and wipe away here, you're going to notice that although the skin did get marked with ink, you're going to see that it looks as though the skin isn't taking the ink. So that right there could be one of the main reasons why we are experiencing these issues. Again, it's going to vary from artist to artist, but this one may be for you, while the other ones that I'm going to talk about here may be for another artist. Here is a closer look at this line. So you can see that although I'm using straight dynamic black, this is depositing as gray. This can be interpreted as the skin isn't accepting the ink, but that's not what's happening. What's happening is that our voltage is way too low for how fast we are moving our hand. Are we able to align at 4 volts? I'm sure we are. However, we are going to have to move a lot slower and align our needle depth with our angle, hand speed voltage, and then we're going to start seeing some different results. Allow me to demonstrate. So running at 4 volts again, I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate what it looks like to align all of the fundamentals correctly to accomplish a clean, solid, consistent, saturated line. I'm using a round shader, which means I have to pay attention to the angle that I'm going to be using. If I'm using a wrong angle, then I'm not going to get the correct line weight of the round shader that I chose. We choose to use round shaders for the bolder lines, so when we create them, we have to capture that. So I'm going to have to align multiple fundamentals, such as my angle with my hand speed to this 4 voltage. And then I'm going to have to go ahead and make sure I have adequate ink flow. I'm going to position myself And then from here, I'm going to do a correct application next to the line with the improper application. Make sure that I focus on angle, proper needle depth, aligning my hand speed to my voltage, and you can see how I am moving tremendously slower, but that's because my voltage is really low. And that's why we have to compensate for that. And you're going to see that when I wipe away, I'm able to get clean, solid, consistent lines, true to this line weight, exactly how they're supposed to come out using 4 volts, but I had to change my technical application. So you can clearly see right here that on the left, this looks more like a gray line, moving way too fast. You can see over here next to it, we aligned our hand speed to our voltage at 4 volts, and we were able to still get clean, solid, consistent, saturated lines. So by simply not aligning the hand speed to the voltage is one of the main reasons why we may be experiencing this issue where the skin isn't accepting the ink. Let's try this. Even if I were to align my hand speed to my voltage, and let's say my needle depth is off, then that's also going to look like the skin is not accepting the ink. So allow me to demonstrate that. So let's say, for example, I'm going to go ahead and do all the incorrect applications on this side, and I'll do correct applications on this side. So for this, let's say if I do align my hand speed to my voltage with this 4 volts, but my needle depth is off, then the line is still going to read as inconsistent, which is also important amongst the variables that I was mentioning a little while ago that we have to consider when applying tattoos. So I'm going to go ahead and align my hand speed to my voltage, but I'm going to stay at a lighter depth. I'm going to stay at the epidermis, which is the top layer of the skin. Although my hand speed and my voltage were not bad and they were in a pretty good tune there, you're going to see that the line is still reading as gray because I'm not getting the ink into the correct layer. And that's going to be needle depth. We have to be comfortable with the depth that we deposit the ink into. That right there is a very big variable that we have to consider. Now, this isn't something that we necessarily may learn up front, as it is pretty difficult. However, it can be something that we develop and learn over time, and we just kind of have to go through it, not around it. So you can see that although my hand speed and my voltage were aligned, my needle depth was completely wrong, still resulting in inconsistent lines. So this right here is moving too fast. This right here is not going deep enough. Let me go ahead and demonstrate over here off to the right, consistent depth. So I'm going to introduce my needle to the fake skin. Still running at 4 volts, haven't changed that. And I'm aligning my hand speed to my voltage while focusing on hitting the correct layer of the skin, which is going to be the dermis. That's where we are depositing the ink. That is where the ink is going to live the rest of its life. And that's why it's important that we do hit the correct layer amongst aligning our hand speed to our voltage while keeping the correct angle. So these are the variables that we as beginners overlook. This is why we refer to it as the skin isn't accepting the ink, but it's not really that. It's just the technical application is off. Here's another thing. So let's say even if my hand speed and voltage were aligned, even if my needle depth is correct, if my angle is wrong, then I'm still going to get inconsistent results that are going to read as the skin isn't accepting the ink. So let me demonstrate a wrong angle. So this is a round shader, which means I'm probably going to line it like this when I use it to capture the full integrity of the line weight. Let's say if I use it this way, what's going to happen is I'm going to deposit ink more on one side than I do on the other. And this line right here, the right side of it where it's leaning more, should have more ink deposit and or be saturated more than the left. So if I wipe away, you're going to notice that that's exactly what's going on. We have more saturation on this side while the left side is a little bit faded, like these two right here. And that is because the angle is incorrect. Keep in mind, still running at 4 volts. So we can kind of see right now that the voltage setting that we even choose isn't necessarily important as long as we're comfortable and it aligns with the machine that we are using. Every machine is going to require a different voltage. So I wouldn't focus so much on voltage, but more so focus on these technical applications right here that I am going over. So taking a look here, you're going to see that again, the right side is more saturated, the left is a bit more faded like these two, but not only that, the line integrity is no longer there. The line weight integrity of the needle that we chose is compromised, which is also what we want to stay away from. We choose specific needles to align to the designs that we have at hand. If we're not using the line weights that we chose and capturing those with each and every line that we create, then it's going to be a very inconsistent tattoo. Allow me to demonstrate what it would be for proper needle angle. Again, since I'm using a round shader, I'm not going to want to go this way. Same thing this way or this way. How I would like to do it is I'm going to start like right around here. I'm going to hold it upwards like this. And then I'm going to just kind of taper in. I'm going to keep it like so, making sure that my hand speed is aligning to my voltage, making sure that I'm in the correct needle depth or at the correct needle depth, and making sure that I have a correct angle. And you can see that I'm yielding clean, solid, consistent results. So when we align these technical fundamentals, you can see that we start accomplishing cleaner work. So here is a closer look, and keep in mind, and I feel it's important to note that this entire time I've been demonstrating at 4 volts. So I hope that I can also shed some light that voltage setting isn't nearly as important as understanding the basic fundamentals such as hand speed to voltage, needle depth, and angles. These are all things that are going to tremendously impact the performance of our tattoo, and not only that, the results, more importantly, the healing results each and every tattoo that we do. Now, this is all one side of technical error. Keep in mind, all we've gone over was moving too fast. We still have moving too slow. You can see here, when we move too fast, our ink and our needle aren't able to deposit in a clean, consistent manner. So we can kind of predict if we were to move too slow that we're probably going to deposit ink, damage the skin, cause more pain to the client, and maybe even long-term scarring and trauma to the skin, raised textured tattoos. So that's pretty much the exact opposite of going too slow. So right here is moving too fast. Going too slow is essentially trauma and damage. This right here is correct technical application for hand speed to voltage. This right here is needle depth. You can see with needle depth, this is also one side of the technical error. This is going too light. Keep in mind, there's also another side where if we have a heavy hand, then we're gonna go too deep, which is also known as blowing out. That typically leads to tattoos that look like bruises, tattoos that don't hold their integrity over time. They begin to blur a lot quicker. They are tremendously more painful for the client, and they often tend to heal with a sort of permanent bruise look to them. Oftentimes, when we blow out the skin and go too deep, we can also be scarring and causing raised tattooing. We can cause textured healing. You get the idea. So also going too deep is not what we want. That's going to be very painful for the client as well. So an adverse effect of needle depth too light is inconsistent lines, and the adversities as mentioned of going too deep are all of the above listed. Now when we move on to incorrect needle angle, you can see that the overall line weight integrities are completely compromised, which is also what we want to stay away from. So you can imagine the opposite side of a technical error of incorrect angling would be correct angling, which is this right here. So incorrect technical angle, and this is correct technical angle. Now, in terms of these technical approaches, it will vary from artist to artist. For example, I was using my round shader like this, while other artists may use theirs a little bit like this and still yield fantastic results. This isn't by any means to tell you how to tattoo or to tell you this is the only way to do certain things. The goal is to shed light on some things that we should be aware of when we begin to tattoo. I do think while we're here, it'd be a cool idea to demonstrate real quick, moving too slow while demonstrating going too deep here, and kind of get the idea across on those improper applications. I feel like the angle was demonstrated well with this one, but in terms of moving too fast and too slow, I feel like I can demonstrate that as well as going too deep here. So moving too slow is going to be exactly what that sounds like. So let's say if I begin, and I'm going to go ahead and introduce the incorrect technical applications over here on this side now. So moving too slow is going to look a little something like this. So at any point my needle could get caught in the skin. What I'm doing is I'm over depositing ink, and what's going to happen is, especially in human skin, over the years this is going to tremendously spread, and it's not going to stay true to this line weight integrity. You can kind of see even here on fake skin, this has a sort of bruised look to it. If this was a human skin, I'm sure the client would have experienced a lot more pain than they would have with this technical application right here. This one would have been a little bit painful but swift for them because we wouldn't have had to gone back. This one right here, we took all our sweet time in the world and we damaged and bruised their skin along the way. This can also make them more prone to infection because the wound is more greater. So this is why I feel it's important to pay attention to these basic fundamentals, especially when we are first starting out. That is what moving too slow can look like for some. Allow me to demonstrate what going too deep would look like. So going too deep would look a little something like this. So from here, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to taper in, and then I'm going to go ahead and press down with a very heavy hand. Again, at any point my needle can snag, but what's happening is I am chopping up the skin. I'm causing much more pain to the skin, and I could potentially be blowing out. I'm not entirely sure if I went all the way through the skin there. However, that was pretty deep here, but you can see that this also has a sort of bruised effect to it. You can see we almost broke through the skin right there. But let's say if we were just beginning, we wouldn't know when we need to double up on the lines. So let's say if I did, for whatever reason, decide to double up on this line, and I did this all over again. Well, from here, you can tell that something's not right. I'm writing the tube as well. That is all types of wrongs, and you can see that we definitely would have blown this client out. This would have definitely been textured, raised. You get the idea. So that is what going too deep would look like. So just a quick recap here. We have going too fast with our hand speed to our voltage, perfect application, and then we have going too slow. Although this may look correct, keep in mind that's very deceiving. This is going to heal with a bruised sort of look. The skin is also going to heal with a sort of texture on it. Not only that, we did risk textured healing, and we also do risk blowups, which is like a sort of natural bruised look indefinitely. So and then one more important thing as well is, as this heals on human skin, moving too slow, we didn't capture the line weight integrity. Although it may be deposited up front, this is definitely going to bleed over time. So that's why I feel it's also another reason that we want to get these technical applications is for the healing results. You can see right here that this is where we went too deep. So just a quick recap, this is going to be too light of needle depth, perfect needle depth right here, far too deep. Again, the looks are deceiving. This is going to heal with a sort of bruised look, tremendous pain for the client, much more trauma to the skin, risk textured healing, as well as any sort of adversities like the integrity of the design could be compromised over the years. You get the idea. Blowouts as well, scarring, potentially more risk to infection because of longer healing times. So the list goes on and on and on for improper technical application. You can see the angling, improper needle angle, proper needle angle. I do hope that this does a good job at getting these main basic variables across, and I feel like this is a good place to begin, especially if we're just starting out and we don't know why the skins may not be accepting the ink. One last close-up look, a recap, so we can conclude this video here. Right here we have, allow me to do one quick recap here to conclude this video. So right here we have improper hand speed and voltage. Right here we have needle depth, and right here we have angling. So On this area right here, the left is going to be improper, too fast of a voltage. In the middle, we have proper application, and on the right, we have moving too slow. Don't forget, looks are deceiving. Over here in the middle, needle depth. On the side, we have too shallow, too light. In the middle, we have perfect depth, and on the right, we have far too deep. Again, looks are deceiving. Down here, we have angling, improper angle and proper angle. You can see the impact from these variables right here. Keep in mind, these are basic variables that we could begin to immediately work on to begin to correct and better our craft on our end. I feel like it's important to remember that these aren't all the reasons why an artist may be experiencing inconsistencies when it comes to applying ink into skin. There are multiple variables to consider as listed in this video, per artist maybe even a little more. However, I feel for beginners, this is a great place to begin for most. If you are experiencing any other specific issues that I may not have gone over in this video, I encourage you to drop a comment down below. I'll do my absolute best to assist you in the best possible direction. I feel like this is a great place to conclude this video. Should you have any questions at all, I encourage you to drop a comment down below. I'll do my absolute best to assist you in the best possible direction. Please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and ring that bell for me, as I will be bringing more videos like this for you all. I do also have social medias under the same name as my YouTube. I have Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok, all under Daniel Yuck. I would appreciate the support over there as well. With that being said, I appreciate your time and I thank you for watching. Have a great day.